This podcast series is supported by members at Patreon. If you want to support this podcast series, head to patreon.com/Cascadian Beer. Independent craft breweries are such a part of the Pacific Northwest that it's hard to find a place without one, from our urban centers to the shorelines of our coasts. Welcome to the Cascadian Beer Podcast. My name's Aaron, and I'm a Cascadian. I have a background in radio and television broadcasting. I'm a music producer and have a passion for beer. I don't consider myself an expert in beer by any means, but I do enjoy and respect the craft and the passion of these brewmasters. I want to learn from these pioneers on what sets them apart from the rest and why they choose to call Cascadia their home. Cascadia is a bioregion in the Pacific Northwest on the North American continent and is made up of the U.S. states of Washington and Oregon, as well as the Canadian province of British Columbia. In this podcast series, I profile the unique breweries of Cascadia, a region that has a strong presence on the international beer scene. Today, I'm speaking with Bandon Brewing Company, a brewery that recently opened its doors in, you guessed it, Bandon, Oregon. Although they've been working on perfecting their beer before opening some 250 miles away in Portland, Oregon, with the help of some close friends. I sat down with them while attending the Great American Beer Festival 2017.
My name is John Hawkins from Bandon Brewing Company, founder and co-owner.
I'm Jeb Halba. I'm the head brewer at Brewery in Portland, Oregon, owned by Portland Kettle Works.
And a good friend, dear collaborator, and helping me get going at Bandon Brewing Company.
All right, so Bandon, Oregon.
Yeah.
Where is that in Cascadia?
So we're southern Oregon coast, beautiful little stretch of ground there, right on the ocean. Maybe, I grew up a country kid. Best way to describe it is an hour and a half drive north of the California border.
Right. Yeah. So further south than Newport, right?
Yeah.
So,
Newport's a good hour and a half, 2 hours north.
All right. And why'd you open a brewery there?
Well, I left a project that I had been doing for about 9 years to chase my now wife, and she lived in Bandon, and that's how I ended up there. Mm-hmm. And this is an opportunity that I've always been interested in and decided to pursue because there was a lack of options in Bandon.
So how did beer find you?
Well, it started back in high school, Aaron. No, but I think probably 3 years ago now, I have some friends that got into commercial brewing. I've enjoyed watching that process and watching their growth. And the opportunity came up for me to do something similar, and I jumped on it.
Mm-hmm. How did beer find you?
I get asked that a lot. I'll say, so I grew up actually in St. Paul, Oregon, a little town of 300 people, about 45 minutes southwest of Portland, right between hops and grapes. Hop yards backing up to the property and everything, real rural area.
Everything you needed right there.
Yeah, well, pretty much. Yeah, I started homebrewing pretty early, but then I studied food science at Oregon State. I worked in the brewing science lab for a few years, was the lead brewer there for a couple, and I thought I'd be a winemaker maybe until I decided I didn't have the patience, and I could get a head start on brewing.
Yeah. How long's the brewery been open then?
Well, this is a complex answer. Purchased the property 2 years ago and took over an existing commercial restaurant space in there 1 year ago with the intention of turning it into a brew pub. Did a full remodel on the food side. We had our grand opening on the brewery side 1 month ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So brand new.
Brand new there.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
Gorgeous space.
Yeah, I've been able to learn a lot about brewing from Jeb and the Brewery up in Portland. My system came from Portland Kettle Works, so it was kind of a nice marriage right there just to do some brewing while I was in Portland. And we've continued that relationship right down to Bandon, and Jeb will be down there doing a lot of brewing with me from time to time.
Cool. What kind of beers do you focus on?
I know John's got 14 taps in the new place, so we're looking at a regular lineup, standard pub beer, really balanced, sessionable, classic Northwest IPA, of course. Aside from that, as local and seasonal as possible. So you're looking at least 10 rotating taps.
And I do have to take this moment to brag a little bit about my One-Eyed Jack IPA.
Okay.
Not only it is a fantastic beer,
Right.
but it was named after my little one-eyed dog.
Oh, right.
So, that's love right there.
All right, is that available? Because we're at JABF. Did you bring it with you?
We do. Yeah, we've got,
All right.
we've got our Lord Bennett's Bandon Red, our Camp 7 Coffee Porter, Pacific Puffin Porter, and One Eye Jack IPA.
All right.
Yeah.
Looking forward to trying those later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All good.
So you've only been open a month. How's the response been for the community then?
Outstanding. It's a great little town that just happens to have 4 or 5 world course 18-hole golf courses north of town. So we do get a fair amount of traffic.
So you're the first brewery in the area?
I am, yeah, in Bandon. Yeah, there's, the Southern Oregon brewing community is pretty small and very close. So we all do a lot of cooperative efforts together.
Right. So what kind of challenges did you face trying to get the doors open?
Your typical development problems, I think in any town might be a little bit more accentuated in a small town without the experience of a brewing industry. So there was a lot of meetings with the city planning community and just trying to educate them as to exactly what the needs and the requirements are for this kind of a operation. And I think once everybody was on the same page and had the familiar level of understanding, it was a pretty quick process.
Right. So what's the size of the system that you guys are working
So
with?
I have a little 5-barrel system. At any one time, my tank farm, I think, holds about 1,240 gallons, something like that.
Right. Are you commuting down a lot to help them brew?
He's about to.
No, but it's a beautiful drive, and I mean, you couldn't pick a more beautiful place to have a brew pub. So it's the pizza and good beer and scenery make it worth it.
Are you got like ocean view, like right on a ledge?
So we're right down in Old Town, right under the arches, welcoming everybody to Old Town. One block to or not even one block. At the end of the block to our north is the marina and the boardwalk that goes, right through Old Town there with some great little shops. And we feel pretty fortunate on our location.
Tell me about the planning here to be at Denver, because if you've only opened a month ago, you can't just rock up here and be like, hey, I'm going to pour beers at this festival. So,
right.
So what's been the planning stage to make it here?
So we've been honing a few recipes for a little over a year now in preparation for this. Set out to do a brewery a year ago. And with that, I knew I'd be at GABF. You asked about some planning questions. There's some process in that development. Some things take longer than anticipated, and we certainly found our share of those, which postponed our actual first brew date at the Bandon Brewing Company. So I did a lot more brewing in Portland than I had anticipated.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you guys drive out, I take it?
We did. I did. Yeah. I road tripped out, picked Jeb up at the airport. He's too important. He's not going to waste his time.
Rockstar Brewmaster over here.
Yeah. So I picked Jeb up at the airport and we're excited. This will be a lot of fun. It's not his first year. It is my first year.
It's mine too.
Yeah. So I'm thrilled. Yeah. Hence the ear-to-ear grin.
All right. So if anybody was wanting to go down the path of opening up their own brew pub, what would be some advice you can give them, especially in a small town?
Well, I mean this sincerely. It sounds like I'm cracking another joke as I usually do, but sincerely, I did the absolute best research I could and took the advice of some well-established folks in the industry. And I would say whatever your final number or budget that you come to that you think it will cost, some say double it, I say triple it. If you triple it, you'll finish your project and have some working capital.
Just to expand on John's comment about starting a new brewery, I mean, I would say, and no discredit to everyone who's come before and all the great things that come from bootstrapping it, but I think where we're at now in the industry, it's, there's no good reason not to help. And especially in Oregon, where there's just so many amazingly, qualified and experienced people. There's always resources, and just don't be afraid to ask. Because if you're going to start a brewery, you need to have your marketing, your distribution, your recipes on point from the start.
Even your branding to some extent.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, completely. Yeah. Absolutely.
All good points.
So, but what I'm saying is the resources are there, so definitely take advantage of it.
And to build on what Jeb is saying, I'll tell you, having a little bit of experience in a couple different industries now, the beer community is by far the most collaborative, supportive, and encouraging industry I've ever been a part of. It really is open source, lots of love all the way around, and everyone is willing to help everyone.
And you mentioned the golf course. What else is there to do in Bandon for somebody that want to come down and visit you?
Yeah, it's just anything water. If you enjoy fishing, if you enjoy surfing, if you enjoy windsurfing, we've got some great trails for mountain biking close by. It's really a little gem of an area. I think we get maybe a little bad rap for the continual rain.
Well, it's coastal.
Yeah, we shouldn't be advertising this, but sincerely, Bandon's got some of the nicest weather on the coast.
And some of my favorite times on the Oregon coast have been in November and during a storm.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. If we haven't started yet, so
Yeah.
all the best here at the festival.
Yeah,
Thanks so
appreciate it.
much.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you so much to John and Jeb for their time, especially since it was right before the start of the Great American Beer Festival. And funny story, I finally made it to their booth near the end of the opening night and said, "Hey, John, remember that IPA we were talking about in the interview?" And his reply was, "Yep, all gone." So I'm disappointed I didn't get to try that, but their other beers they had on offer were fantastic, and I hope to make it down to Bandon, Oregon soon. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cascadian Beer Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please recommend it to a friend. That's nice. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can by going to facebook.com/Cascadian Beer. We're on Twitter at Cascadian Beer and on Instagram at Cascadian Beer Podcast. I want to thank our members on Patreon for making this episode possible. And if you want to support this independently produced podcast series, you can for as little as $1 an episode by heading to patreon.com/Cascadian Beer. I'm Aaron. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you want to keep up to date or go back and listen to some old episodes, go to cascadian.beer. And until next time, remember, support your local.